I was like, okay, well, this is what she needs. So I'm gonna do all the things. I'm gonna do everything I have to do to be a really good mom. And then at the end of the day, like I was so burnt out and exhausted and just like didn't know if I could get up and do it again the next day. I got a little caught up in like what's next rather than just focusing on what was right in front of me and enjoying the present. I have to do all of this myself, or like it makes me like not competent or something, which is not true. Like, okay, if I had to do it all by myself, yes, I could do it, but I don't have to do it all by myself. I really understand now how fast it goes. I want to stress less and I want to enjoy more. Hey friends, it's Grace. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be filming what I'm doing differently with baby number 2, and also things that I'm going to be doing the same with baby number 2. So if you're new around here or just haven't watched a vlog in a while, I am currently 34 tomorrow, weeks pregnant with my second baby. I have a daughter named Ivy who is almost a year and a half old. She's 17 months right now. And this baby, little boy, and he is due in September 16th. And with having such a short span between pregnancies and between babies, I feel like I still have it really fresh in my mind. You know, having Ivy as a newborn, as a young baby. And there are definitely some things that I regret a little bit. They're not things that like keep me up at night, but things that I'm like, well, yeah, I'd probably do that differently next time. So that's what this video is about. I'm gonna talk about things that I am planning on doing differently with this next baby. And then I'm also gonna talk about some things that I plan on doing the same, that I thought was a good way of doing stuff. So I made some notes for myself because my brain just cannot hold information. So I have 10 things that I'm doing differently, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 7 things that I would do again. So I'll go ahead and start with the things that I want to do differently with this baby. And I guess I will just say the disclaimer, like, just because I want to do these things differently or something didn't work for me or did work for me, it doesn't necessarily mean that you like should or shouldn't be doing those things with your baby. I think it's important to keep in mind that every family and every baby and kid is so different and unique. And some things, you know, that work great for me might not work great for other people. Some things that were terrible for me might have been like the best parenting decision you made. So just keep that in mind. So the first thing that I want to do differently with this next baby is do more skin to skin. I feel like with Ivy, I did a good amount of skin to skin kind of in like that very first couple days, week after she was born. But then I just didn't do it as often as I wanted to, because it just kind of felt like a big hassle, like getting her all undressed and then redressed and getting me undressed and redressed. But looking back, I wish I would have done more of that, because I think that's such a sweet way to bond, and there's a lot of really amazing benefits from skin to skin. So I plan on doing that like right away at the hospital, which I also did last time, but then just continuing to do it throughout the first few weeks, maybe months, I don't know, of his life, just so we can have that really sweet bonding time. Okay, the next one, this is like probably the biggest thing for me of what I would do differently. Put less pressure on myself to breastfeed / increase my milk supply. I put so much pressure on myself to exclusively breastfeed when I had Ivy. And if you've been following along, you know that our breastfeeding journey was rough. I had a really low milk supply. Ivy had a posterior tongue tie, and the combination of those two things made it very difficult to breastfeed. And we did eventually get her tongue tie fixed, and I eventually was diagnosed with insufficient glandular tissue after doing a lot of testing. So now I know that my most likely will not produce enough milk to exclusively breastfeed a baby, at least long term. And going into this next like newborn phase knowing that is really helpful for me, because I don't have that same expectation that like I'll just push through it and I can just do it no matter what, because I know now that like that's probably not the case. And I know that doing that led me to a really dark, really hard place to be. And I feel like the amount of pressure and stress that came from feeding those first couple months with Ivy really stole a lot of my joy from the newborn stage. And I don't want to let that happen this time. So I really want to put less pressure on myself and just let our feeding unfold in a way that is best for the baby and best for me and our family. Whether that be, you know, breastfeeding, formula feeding, pumping, most likely some combination of the three. I want to do what's best for us and for me mentally and physically, and just try to like enjoy that time more, without stressing quite so much about how we're feeding, as long as, you know, the baby is being fed and is healthy. Okay, the next thing I want to do differently is establish a nap and bedtime routine right away. This is something we waited to do a couple months with Ivy, and once we started implementing more of a like routine, kind of like a wind down routine before bedtime and before bath time, once we started doing that, it made a huge difference. And I think it really just cued to her that like those things were coming, especially at bedtime. That made a really big difference. So I want to start doing that right away with this newborn baby. And yeah, it might not make a huge difference like in the very beginning, but I think over time it will help him understand like the routine of our day, just sort of the patterns that lead to sleep or being awake. Yeah, hopefully it will just help those things go a little bit smoother. The next thing is I want to be more flexible with our schedule. And I say this lightly because I love a schedule. Like, I love it. And having Ivy on a flexible routine schedule has been the best thing for us, and it's been really, really helpful. I just know it's not going to be possible to have like a toddler running around and a little baby and to be following this perfect schedule. Like, it's just not realistic. So I do still plan on following like wake windows and obviously following the baby's cues, like of when they should sleep and be awake and eat and whatnot. But this baby is just gonna have to be a little bit more flexible. I remember like with Ivy, like our wake windows had to be like to the minute on the dot, or I thought she was gonna get overtired and like everything would be ruined. And I realize now, like, I could step back a little bit, and like if it's a few minutes off, it's not that big a deal. If we have to do a nap on the go rather than a nap at home, like it's gonna be okay. If the baby falls asleep in the car when they're supposed to be awake, it's gonna be all right. So yeah, I just plan to try and be more flexible with that. Try being the operative word, because like I said, I love my schedules. I'm a big type A person. But I know that we're just gonna have to be more flexible and kind of roll with things with having 2 under 2. The next thing that I want to do differently is get out of the house more in the beginning. And I feel like with Ivy, we were at home a lot, and a big part of that was because we were in the thick of pandemic, and that's where we felt safest, was being at home. So we didn't do like a whole lot of outings. But I wish even we would have just done like more small things, like playing in the backyard. Well, she was born in the winter though. Or going on walks, just little things, because I realize now that getting out of the house is so good for everybody's mental health, and it just kind of like refreshes all of us on like throughout the day. So I definitely want to try and get out of the house more with this baby, whether it be running errands or like play dates or going and seeing people, just going on walks or playing outside. Like I really want to do that more often for everybody's sake. Okay, the next one is I want to be better at following babies' cues, specifically like their hunger cues, their full cues, their sleepy cues, rather than following like a clock or other people's advice of what things have to be. Because I feel like that's what I did more with Ivy. I was like, okay, we have to feed every 2 to 3 hours. This is how much she has to eat. And like, this is when she needs to go to sleep. And I feel like I just was very focused on like what I should do, rather than like what my baby was telling me. And I think probably the biggest thing of that was like hunger and full cues. And I don't like completely blame myself for that, because Ivy lost quite a bit of weight really early on, which was really scary. And our pediatrician made it seem like we needed to just like feed, and this is how much she needs to have. She needs to do it every time. And I guess that's kind of the mindset I went into like feeding with, and it worked for a while, but then it really ended up not working. She went on a feeding strike and like would not nurse, would not take a bottle for like a couple of days, and it was really scary. And I remember going to the pediatrician, and different pediatrician, we switched from the other one because he kind of sucked. The new one was much better. He recommended feeding on demand more than rather on a schedule. And that was like hard for me to accept at first, because like that's what we had been doing, that's what I was told. But once we actually started doing that and like listening more to when she was hungry, and specifically when she was full, and not like trying to get her to finish a bottle, that made a really big difference. So I want to go into this second round paying a lot better attention to those things, and really like listening to my baby rather than listening to what everyone else is telling me and all those shoulds. And yeah, obviously I'll still like be making sure to feed often enough, and like that the baby is gaining good weight. We're gonna keep a close eye on that, of course. But I just want to be able to like follow his cues a little bit more rather than that other stuff. The next one, something I want to do differently, is not focusing on milestones as much and really just enjoying the stage he's in. I feel like with your first baby and your first pregnancy too, you're just so excited for what's next, and you're always looking for like the next stage, the next step, the next milestone. And it totally makes sense why we feel that way. Like it's just so exciting, and little babies change so quickly. And you know, we like celebrate those big moments, which is great. Like we should celebrate them. But I think I got a little caught up in like what's next rather than just focusing on what was right in front of me and enjoying the present. So this time I really want to just like soak in those precious moments because I really understand now how fast it goes. Like how fast a pregnancy goes, how fast a baby grows and changes. And I look back at pictures of when Ivy was little, and it's just like, oh, you could never get that time back. And sometimes that's a good thing, because there are really hard stages with having a baby for sure, but they're also really sweet stages, and I just want to make sure that I'm really present and enjoying those. So that's something I'm going to try to do. The next thing that I want to do is accept more help, especially in the beginning. Now again, this was something that our situation with Ivy the first time is kind of unique, unless you've also gone through this, but because she was born in the middle of the pandemic. Obviously that is still going on to a certain degree, but everyone's been vaccinated and things aren't quite as intense in our area as they used to be, which is so great. Love that. So we are able to accept more help now, and I know we're gonna need it. Having, you know, a toddler and a baby, I am going to accept all the help I get. Like, we're doing a meal train this time. We have already things set up, like with, you know, one of our parents coming every week in the evening so we can get a little break. So I plan to accept and seek out help much more often. I think I also kind of have this mindset of like, I have to do all of this myself, or like it makes me like not competent or something, which is not true. Like, okay, if I had to do it all by myself, yes, I could do it. But I don't have to do it all by myself. I'm like so blessed to have family around us and friends and people who want to help and be with my babies and yeah, just be here with us. So I really am just going to have no reservations in accepting all the help this time around. The next thing is not like specifically about the baby. I guess the last one wasn't either, but I really want to focus on prioritizing my mental health this time around, like having a newborn. I didn't realize that at the time, but I think I did go through a stage of postpartum depression with Ivy. And in the last few months, I've started doing therapy and started a medication, and it has been life-changing, truly. Like, I didn't know that I could enjoy my life like I am now. And like, I'm so glad that I started doing those things and that I know those things now, going into having another newborn, that I am kind of prone to, you know, that postpartum depression and depression in general, and that I have some tools and strategies that can help me with that. Also, I just really want to keep a closer eye on like how things are affecting me, because I think I kind of pushed myself onto the back burner sometimes in the first time, and I was like, okay, well, this is what she needs, so I'm gonna do all the things and I'm gonna do everything I have to do to be a really good mom. And then at the end of the day, like, I was so burnt out and exhausted and just like didn't know if I could get up and do it again the next day. And I don't feel like that anymore, thankfully. But having had that experience, I know now that I really just need to keep a close eye on how I'm doing mentally and prioritizing my rest, my health, asking for what I need, and communicating how I'm really doing to people who are close to me. And yeah, that's something that I plan on doing this time around, and I'm hoping that it will help out a lot just with my kind of mental state that first few months, first year, and beyond. And then the last thing, so I guess this is just kind of like the overall theme of most of these things, is I want to stress less and I want to enjoy more. I was so stressed and worried about every little thing as a first-time parent, which is totally normal and understandable. But having gone through a lot of it, I feel more at ease, I feel more prepared, and I really just want to enjoy my kids, you know, and my family, and trust that not every little thing has to be like perfect, that I would rather be present than perfect. And yeah, I just really want to enjoy my time with my family because it's fleeting. We'll never be in the same stage again, and I really think it's going to be such a sweet and hard and unique stage. So I'm really looking forward to it. All right, and now I'm going to shift gears and talk about things that I want to do the same way. So these are things that I thought went really great the first time around, and I would totally do them again. So the first one is the Taking Care of Babies Newborn course. Cannot recommend enough. I will recommend this to anyone having a baby. We did the newborn course and it was so helpful in setting a healthy sleep foundation for our baby, and it helped us understand things like wake windows and naps. And it has like a technique that you learn in that class, a lot of different techniques that are like super helpful, honestly, in like soothing your baby. And I think probably the like most helpful thing that we did was this like strategy you do during the night once your baby gets to about 4 weeks, where you very, very gently and slowly start extending their first like sleep period of the night, to a point where they eventually are sleeping through like a solid 8, 9, 10-hour stretches at night. And we did that with Ivy, and she was sleeping through the night by about 2.5 months, which was amazing. And we never had to cry it out. We never had to do like intense sleep training. It was really all just from the things we learned from the newborn course, and a lot of dedication on our part. Sorry, my dog is barking outside the window. So yeah, we're definitely gonna do that this time, and we'll probably rewatch the course just to get like a little refresher. But I can't recommend that enough. Another thing that I thought was really good that we did was kind of taking shifts in the night for the first few weeks so that we could both get a little bit of rest, like consecutive rest. So what we would do is like, I think usually Davis would have like the first shift of the night. So like from 9 o'clock to like 2 o'clock, he would, is that when it was? 1 o'clock, somewhere in there. We would split up the night. Like he would be the one that would get the baby, like if she started crying or if she needed to be fed. He was the one that would do that. And then I would have a chance to sleep for a solid like, 5, 6 hours straight. A lot of times Davis would just like stay up because he hated having to get up at night. Don't necessarily recommend that. And then like I would have the second part, so from like 2 to 7 or 8 or whenever morning was. And a lot of times what we would do is like one of us who wasn't like on duty would like wear earplugs so that we could like actually sleep and not be super distracted by everything, while the other person was like obviously awake and alert and, or not awake, but like, ready to respond if the baby needed something. So I thought that was a good strategy for those first few weeks when the baby's waking up multiple times throughout the night, just so that we can get some actual rest and not be complete zombies. Another thing I would do again, this applies a little bit more to older babies, but baby-led weaning at 6 months. That's what we did with Ivy, and it was really great, like loved it. We started doing like solids with her and was letting her self-feed. And I learned how to do that like safely mostly through solid starts and also feeding littles, and then just a bunch of research on my own. I think we'll definitely be doing that again with this next baby. It really helped her so much in just like building her confidence in like learning to feed herself. She eats completely by herself and she does great with it. In like reducing pickiness and just getting her more like used to different textures and flavors, and it also really helped her dexterity, like learning to grab things. So I thought it was great, and we'll definitely be doing that again. Another thing that I want to do is make a 1 second every day video for his first year. I did this with Ivy. I didn't do it super consistently in the beginning, but I sort of just like compiled together what I had, because I had like a million pictures, of course, and videos. And then I started doing it more consistently when she was like 3 or 4 months old. I will link that video. I actually like compiled it all and posted it on YouTube, so I'll link that up there. But it is so precious to see your baby grow through that first year and just all those sweet little highlights and moments. I would watch it back when I was just like having a hard time, and there were so many precious like baby smiles and laughs and just sweet things that I like had kind of forgotten about. And it's also really cool to see her grow, because babies just grow so much in that first year. It's insane. Like they look like a totally different kid within a year, or within 6 months even. So I do plan on doing that again with this baby from the very beginning this time. Another thing I also want to do is lots of unrestricted floor time and tummy time. I think like right from the beginning, I think it's so beneficial. And I really saw those benefits in Ivy. She spent so much time just like unrestricted, playing on the floor, and doing tummy time, and she is so strong. She just grasped like gross motor skills really pretty quickly, and I think it was just like a really great learning experience and like playing experience for her. So I plan on doing that with this baby as well. 2 more things. I also planned to read lots and lots of books and sing lots and lots of songs and do sort of a Montessori style play with this baby. We again did this the first time around, and I saw so many benefits from it. Ivy loves to read, and just learned so many things and skills from that Montessori style play. We got her the Love Every play kits, and we'll be using those again with this baby because we still have them all. And I really like that that's more open-ended play. I'll try to do minimal to no screen time like I did with Ivy, but I mean, she gets a little bit of screen time these days, so I mean, it's inevitable that he's gonna get a little bit too, just because they're in the same house. But anyway, for the most part, I want to kind of embrace that same play style that I did with Ivy. The last thing that I want to do the same is baby wearing. Me and Ivy did lots of baby wearing in our Solly baby wrap early on, and then in like a structured carrier later, and she loved it. Hopefully this baby will also like it. I think baby wearing is so sweet, and it's also just such a great way to be able to get things done and have your hands free, not like holding a little baby all the time. And it's also like a sweet way to bond. So those are the things I had on my list. Honestly, there's probably more that I didn't think of, but those are the main kind of regrets that I had and things that I would do, things that I would like to do differently with this baby. And then a couple of parenting things that I thought we really nailed and would like to do again this time around. I hope this video was helpful or interesting to you guys. It was helpful for me to just like sit down and think these things out, with the due date approaching so fast in like less than a month and a half at this point. If you have a baby arriving soon, I know a lot of you are pregnant at the same time as me, congratulations. If it's your first baby, like, oh, so exciting. I hope you can learn from some of my mistakes that I made. And if this is like a second or third or fourth or so on baby, congratulations, you're amazing. Leave me your tips. And I'd love to know if there's anything you would do differently with this baby versus like your previous ones. If you are a parent out there, I would just say have grace with yourself. Parenting can be really hard. The baby stage can be really tough. But it can also be so sweet and so special. So grit your teeth and know that you will make it through the hard times, that they will pass, that everything is a stage, and also just soak in those sweet, precious moments as they come, because they won't last forever, and you'll look back and just be so grateful that you did. So that's my 2 cents, my unsolicited advice to parents. But thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next video, which I'm hoping will be like a nesting, like setting up the nursery type vlog, because we need to do that. Anyway, I'll see you in the next one. Bye!